Spencer Nussbaum, the next. We'll start with you. Go ahead, Spencer.
Hey, Kennedy, how are you doing today? Hello? Is the sound coming through?
Okay, sorry, Spencer, ask that again.
Kennedy, can you hear me now? All right, I cannot hear you. No, sorry.
Coming back.
Okay, we're just
All right. Starting off, could you just talk about your overall thoughts on training camp so far and what you've seen from the new guards on the roster?
training camp so far has been a blast for me. I've been able to learn my teammates a little bit more, get a feel for playing the one at the two. Love playing with Odyssey so far. She's a great point guard, a great person who can distribute, find her teammates. She's also a great leader. Ari, who is a great facilitator. She's finding her rhythm. I'm watching her. She's getting better. So I'm really excited to get out there with the both of them and just really see what we can put together this season.
Raphael Haynes, go ahead.
Hey, Kennedy, I'm sorry. Hey, how you doing? Raphael from the three-point conversion. You know how to mess with you because I know you love Allen Iverson. But
Yeah.
but my question is, first off, you just talked about training camp as far as learning about your teammates. What has been rewarding for you personally as far as going through your first training camp? And then also, what parts of your game do you say, okay, this is what I want to work on after having a great rookie season?
Rewarding. It's kind of hard to kind of see a reward right now just because I'm working so hard to make sure that I'm bringing different things to the table this year, and I'm adding and expanding my game, shooting the ball way better from three, shooting it from the mid-range, just being able to find my rhythm, find my teammates. I think that's the reward. Seeing us get wins, seeing us make the playoffs, I think that'll be the reward for me. I don't really see a reward so far. And then what was your second question?
Oh, I'm sorry, had me mute. What are you looking to work on as far as your game this year after having a great rookie season?
I'm just looking on working on really being a leader. I think that I have a special talent, I have a special gift, and now it's just really about bringing everyone that is on the floor with me. I have to bring all my teammates and elevate their abilities to my abilities, and we all have to come together and really we have to really gel. With us kind of drafting a lot of new players and we have some players still not here. We're still trying to figure it out and pick up the pieces, but we're coming in every day. We're having workouts before the practice. So I think everybody on the team is doing a good job of putting the work in. I'm ready for us to get out there and play, honestly.
Spencer Nussbaum, we'll go back to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of just building off the last question. You have this, new roster, new set of expectations, fresh start this year. What aspects of the team's play style are you most looking forward to in terms of, changes from last season?
I'm excited to get out and run. Like, we have so many great guards who can expand the floor, shoot from anywhere, straight a knockdown shooter. We have Court who can come off the ball screen, knock down their range, find her teammates, find me who can create and just find my teammates. I'm really excited to get in the transition game and really get the game going up and down. I feel like we have a lot of guards with legs that can run. So I think we're going to run and gun this season and really get into the ball screen action and find ourselves. That's what I'm excited about. And plus, don't get me started on the post. I mean, once our posts get together, it's going to be trouble from Cheyenne to Liz. It's going to be a good group.
For those just joining, Chennedy here. If you have a question for her, go ahead and raise your hand. Now we'll go back to Raphael. Go ahead, Raphael.
So what have Coach talked to you about coming into this season as far as what she's looking for you to do? I know last year you played more point guard at first,
See, that's the thing. See, I'm kind of at a role where I don't know. I just let Coach put me in the piece where she believes I'm the best fit. I trust my coach, and I believe where she puts me at is where I really the best at. So we'll see this year. Last year I did play the one. I could play a little one or two. I don't know. I'm just as lost as you. I don't know. You're just gonna have to see. That's a coach call.
All right, last call for questions for Chennedy. All right, thanks, Ken. All right, we've got Crystal Bradford here. If you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. Raphael Haynes, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Hey, Crystal. How has training camp been so far? This is maybe what your fourth practice. So how has it been far as a team and then personally for you?
Oh, it's been really good. As far as the team, I think we're gelling. For me, it's so much fun because so many good players, which I'm not used to. I'm used to being overseas and having, maybe 2 Americans, or maybe I'm the third, maybe I'm the only American, but now it's 5 Americans and everyone is different personnel, but so good. So I'm able to react off of them, and then we make a mistake, but we know it's so early that we're able to adjust by our mistakes. So it's been quite the learning/fun experience.
Spencer Nussbaum, we'll go to you.
Hey, Crystal. Obviously, you've had this super interesting journey over the past few years. And I'm just curious, when you look at last season, when you look at what Shea Petty did and what Jackie Jamelis did coming back after a few years not being in the league, did that does that give you any motivation in terms, trying to make a WNBA roster?
Oh yes, definitely. Even Yvonne Turner, it's players that are able to grow a little more mentally, physically overseas, and come back and definitely give something to a team. So, excuse me, I definitely look at those players, and I continue to watch the league and just see how I can grow. But it's nothing like actually being a part of the league and learning the terminology, learning the sets, learning the different things that come within being actually in the league. This has been my longest training camp in a while, so I am definitely enjoying it. I've been a sponge.
Raphael, we'll go back to you.
Is it hard to adjust, or how has it been adjusting coming from overseas then to a training camp right now?
So a few years back, I think it was 2019, I want to say, I came from overseas and went into Indies training camp. And I just remember being really still a little young mentally wise. But this year, the adjustment has not been hard, first of all, because of Coach Nicki. I really love the coaching staff here. They're very positive, but they let you know what they want you to do, and that's only what they want you to do. So I have a role that I'm able to focus on, and it has not been really difficult at all. I think the most thing that's been difficult is, like I said, just understanding personnel. I have a new player on my team right now every time, because of the roster is pretty, we have 15 on the roster. So sometimes I just have new guards around me. Maybe I'm pretty used to all the forwards that's around, but I have new guards that's around me that I'm getting used to. If they want to pitch, maybe they want to dribble handoff, just the little details. So it hasn't been hard at all. I don't know if it's because I'm older. It's just a lot of things that play into the less difficulty of being here.
Spencer, we'll go back to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, you kind of talk about your mental approach changing since 2019. I'm curious if you could just zero in on that a little bit more, like what's changed in your mentality, and then just also on the court, for people who haven't seen you in a while, what have you added to your game?
I would say, for one, I just want to be out there. I was happy to be there. It was such, being in the WNBA, we have a role in the community that's so big that naturally makes us operate with high vibrations. So just being around other good players, other good people, I would say that I would be really, I used to be really, excited, but now I've taken a leadership role, because even the people around me are so much younger. I tell them I'm 27 and they, what? I thought you were maybe like 25. So I'm talking to the kids, Ari, they're like 24, 25. So I'm taking more of a leadership role. And not only am I just happy to be out there, I'm trying to win, any drill, anytime, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to actually pay attention to detail, because it makes a big difference. So yeah, I think leadership, instead of being a young person, I'm just older, and I take more leadership, more responsibility, and I make more sacrifices off the court. That plays a role.
Spencer, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, you talk about your leadership. I'm curious, obviously training camp has not been going on for more than a week, but what kind of conversations have you been having with the younger players? Any like mentorship for them?
Yeah, not just constant positive affirmations. You got it. Sometimes they need actual readjustments with some things, and to be, let them know that, hey, if I do say something, it's because it's out of love, it's because I want to win, and I'm just building chemistry with players, younger and older. So I just been building leadership, building chemistry.
All right. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
All right. We've got head coach Nicki
hello.
Collen here.
I usually am on mute. Sorry. Fixing my eyebrows for y'all.
All right. Now that Nikki's eyebrows are ready, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. Chantal Jennings, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Eyebrows look great, Nikki. Good job.
Thanks. Yeah, I was like up here. Thanks.
Wanted to ask you, in February when you had your availability, I'd asked you about scouting players, and you said this year, you've been watching everyone for like 4 or 5 years. There aren't as many Marie Guliches that sort of come on their senior year. You mentioned Aries specifically. You said you'd been watching her since she was at Washington. So that's like 4 seasons worth of tape. So I'm curious, kind of a 2-part question. Through the tournament, did you see her do anything that you hadn't seen in those 4 years? And then through the first week of camp, kind of the second part of the question, is there anything that she's done that you hadn't seen on tape those 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that she showed in the NCAA tournament was simply her ability to make shots in big moments. Not a great career 3-point shooter, but was always forced to take a lot of difficult late shot clock type of shots, and certainly had to carry her team offensively at times at Arizona. And I think if you go back to Washington when she played alongside Plum and Osahor, and she shot her best percentage from 3 because she walked into them. She was taking good threes and was more efficient doing it. I think she's a really confident player. I think she's a player who, competes at a high level and has confidence, but she's not a showboat. She doesn't, have this ultimate swag when she's in practice. She just competes. She just goes possession to possession and is a little bit more of a, an old soul, I think, if I had to describe her. But what I love about her is she's first to the gym. She always gets up extra shots. She's always asking questions, but she's just really calm and cool. And I think her growth is going to come when she becomes more vocal, not in terms of necessarily telling people what to do, but commanding, what offense we're in, and not leaving it up to 4 other people to figure it out, and to really dictate that. And that's tough for any rookie point guard. I think what you see up close when she gets here is simply how fast she is. That's the best part of her game. She plays fast and she plays fearless. And she's a better passer, I think, than people realize, because she did take such a high volume of shots at Arizona. So does a good job of finding her teammates, has to learn that everybody's bigger in this league. So she's got to probe the lane, but she's got to understand when to back it out. She's got to understand when to reattack and not get herself in trouble. If she's had a little bit of Achilles heel so far in camp, it's probably she's turned it over too much. But I would rather she learn by doing, and see, what happens when she gets too deep and can't bail herself out, than, be afraid to cross the 3-point line, because that would take away, what she's great at. So, I think she's someone that's going to shoot the basketball better than I think her statistics say. And then I think the consistent part with her, she's just going to really guard the ball hard.
Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, you're approaching, I'd say, one of the worst times of the year, in the sense that eventually cuts are going to need to start being made. I guess more broadly, though, with those discussions come discussions about, potential league expansion, adding new teams. Obviously, your top concern is always going to lie with Atlanta. Could you just more generally, though, talk about your thoughts on expansion and whether that's become more of a serious conversation in league circles over the past, year or so?
I mean, I think we're always talking about it. Obviously, the league has always made the statement they really want 12 healthy franchises, financially and otherwise, before we really expand. But I think, just from a league growth perspective, we need to be in more markets, whether it's a talent situation or not a talent situation. I know fans in the Twitter world, 11 players on a team and good players are going to get cut. And, it's just always been that way in this league, and the cream rises to the top. And so, there's going to be a lot of players that get cut that don't get picked up. And people are going to be surprised by that because they see a player being really good in college and their games don't always translate. Doesn't mean they're not great players. Doesn't mean they won't be great pros overseas, but not every player is going to be a great WNBA player or even a great role player, in the WNBA. And so I think for the health of this league, yeah, I mean, I think we'd all as coaches love to see growth. We'd love to see, playing teams fewer times and playing, in different venues and really branching who we are and what we do to more cities. I think that'd be huge for us. But, at this point, I think, yeah, I mean, it is without question the worst part of my job. I think you build relationships with these players. And, I'm obviously in a situation very different than some teams in this league that, have people coming back quickly. And so, they had certain people in camp after a couple of days and then they're cutting them. I think in some ways that's harder and it's easier. It's easier because you haven't gotten too attached to them and you're going to, those players are, slightly easier to cut. But when it comes down to the last few cuts, those are incredibly difficult because you're talking about good players and you could be talking about cap issues. You could be talking about a lot of different reasons why, maybe you keep one player over another. And fans don't understand that part of it. And they never really will. I mean, there are certain things that we as coaches see on the basketball court that we need. And even if it's energy in a practice setting, people think having the most talent 1 through 12 is the most important thing, but it's really not. It's about creating the best, team that competes together and, brings something to the table. And certain players, if they might be slightly more talented, but if they're not prepared for a role, where they're not going to play as much, you'd rather have a player that absolutely is committed to being on your team, whether they play 1 minute, 10 minutes, or 25. So, a lot of those last final cuts will come down to what's their fit, not necessarily, hey, this player is so much better than somebody else, but it's how do they fit in? How can they play their role? Are they a hype person on the sidelines? Are they someone that's going to make us better in practice? And, there's a lot of intangibles involved with putting the right team together.
Raphael Haynes, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Nicki, hope all is well. 4th day of practice, we have the game tomorrow, I believe. Were there any highlights today, and how is the team looking leading up to the game tomorrow?
I think the team is competing at a high level. I still think at times we turn it over a little too much. We've certainly missed some easy ones, as fatigue sets in and you're working through kind of getting in shape. Sometimes you miss shots you're good at. But sometimes it comes down to, are we getting the right shots? And then on the flip side, as you're like evaluating the defense, how are we giving up those easy shots, even if we're missing them? So, I thought today was a good practice. There was a lot of energy. I think going into knowing we're going to play a game, there's a little extra energy, a little extra bounce with these players. And I think, we competed at the end. We did, one of my favorite drills, which is kind of a time and score drill where you're 5-on-5, but you kind of play it like it's the last 2 minutes of the game. So you're calling timeouts, you're drawing step up in huddles, and you get a different view of like who executes, who can see it, in 2-dimensional on a board and go out and really execute it the right way, and get a shot. And I thought the thing I was most proud of is we missed a couple shots, but I thought we executed and got good shots, which is part of it. You're down 3 points and you need a 3. Do you set a screen? Do you know who you're screening? Do you screen your own if they're going to switch? And so there are a lot of layers to, being good. And in this league, it oftentimes comes down to 1 or 2 possessions. So these are the moments, you really start to work on those things. And I think the players like really dig in those situations. Like not only they're usually competitive, but now it feels more game-like rather than, hey, we're going to just run up and down for 15 minutes. So I thought that was good. We got some good stuff, whether it's taking a foul, whether it's taking a foul at the right time. Those are all important end of game type scenarios.
We'll go back to you.
Sure. I guess I'd like to ask about a player who probably won't be cut in Chennedy Carter. With
Probably won't.
with her, game and play style evolving maybe in year 2, is there anything specific you need to see her zeroing in on this season that's really going to help the team reach its maximum potential?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I can make a laundry list because she's so talented and she does so many things. But when you are someone like her, then the expectations keep getting driven up, because I know where her game could go. And so, I think a big thing for Chennedy is can she play with consistent pace? Can she play with pace when the ball's in her hands? And can she play with pace when the ball's not in her hands? There's times we will play her off the ball this year. And so if Odyssey's got the ball, she needs to get to the corner in space, and oftentimes we'll play back to her in actions. But I need to see her growth in terms of cutting hard off the ball. She's so good with the ball in her hands, but learning, that the game, even when you're off the ball, that your cuts have gravity. They affect our ability to score, and maybe it's somebody else, but every player is a part in basketball when you're playing 5-on-5. So, I think offensively, that's a big thing. I think the other thing is, we've got to keep her from taking a lot of long twos. She's a really good jump shooter when she gets to her kill spot in that 15-foot elbow range. But she's not an efficient player from 16 to 21 feet. And so it's the whole idea of like, yeah, you can get that shot anytime you want. Why settle for that? You can go get a better shot. And so can she touch the paint and get to her kill spot? Can she touch the paint and get the ball to her teammates, and consistently find open people kind of inside out. So I think those are the offensive pieces that are really, really important. Continue to be efficient. Really want her to take more threes, to be quite frank, shoot the catch and shoot shot on a kick out. If she's playing off the ball, she's a really good corner 3 shooter. Defensively, she's got to stay engaged. She's got to be as good. Once again, with Chennedy, she's super engaged when she's guarding the ball. Will she commit and sit down and be a great help defender, be on the nail, dig out when her posts need help, just really stay engaged through a 24-second shot clock, because she has the speed, strength, and ability to be a good defender. But it's that commitment to both ends all the time that separate a good and a great player, and separate a player that's capable, of being all defensive. And I think when she surrounds herself with, the way Ariel get up and guard on the ball, that motivates her. When she sees how Odyssey guards on the ball, when Tiffany Hayes gets back in camp, you can't help but feed off their defensive energy. And I think that's going to help her, but it's always going to be a matter of, keeping her engaged off the ball and really, really dialing in. She has great instincts and can be a great help defender, but has to stay committed, kind of throughout possessions at both ends.
And last question, we'll go to Danny Thompson. Go ahead, Danny.
Coach Nicki, Danny Thompson with 3-point conversion. Great to see you as always. You mentioned a couple days ago how Ari and how Odyssey were so big on ball defense. And of course, you talked about Chennedy becoming much more of a better defender. And we all know how good Courtney is on both sides. Have you mixed and matched them and as far as combinations in practice to kind of pick up the defensive intensity for some and, to see how they are against better defensive players in the first 4 days of camp?
Yeah, we pretty much mix and match every day. And the last 2 days I've had Chennedy and Odyssey playing together. The beauty of Odyssey right now is she's good on the ball, she's good off the ball, and she's a good communicator, so she's gonna be talking on defense. And so that's part of it. She understands game plan, she understands strengths and weaknesses of players, she knows when to play out of the nail. And so, she's gonna lead that way. So I've put those two side by side the last 2 days just to see, all right, I want in that scenario, probably in a dead ball, Odyssey to bring the ball down the floor. But on a rebound, I want to outlet as quickly as we can to whomever. and then we just need to play, because I think they're both good with the ball in their hands and can be great in transition without it, you know? So, I mean, I think that's how, you know, we're trying to feel that out. You know, we've played probably, I mean, Chennedy missed the first 2 days, so, you know, she's only had 3 days. So there can only be so much mixing and matching when it comes to her over a 5-day period. But we're going to continue to mix, you know, we're going to continue to see, you know, how, you know, we play, and, you know, getting a look at another opponent tomorrow will be good that way as well, where we'll see, all right, well, what's going to happen when, you know, they play big at certain positions, and, you know, we're going to have to figure out if Aerial Powers wants to post at the 2, you know, those our little 2 guards are going to have to battle like crazy, you know, but it's going to be that way all season, but then they got to guard us too. So, you know, we're excited to see how it all plays out.
All right, thanks, Nikki.
You got it?